Welcome to Regulate and Rewire, an anxiety and depression podcast where we discuss the things I wish someone would have taught me earlier in my healing journey. I'm your host, Amanda Armstrong, and I'll be sharing my steps, my missteps, client experiences, and tangible research-based tools to help you regulate your nervous system, rewire your mind, and reclaim your life. Thanks for being here. Now let's dive in. Hey, welcome back. So last week we broke down a song about anxiety and you guys loved it. And I loved hearing from you that you loved it. So today I want to do a little bit of the same thing, but this time with a song that I think captures the experience of depression. Honestly, in a way that is almost hard to listen to because of how accurate it is. So the song is called You'd Never Know, and it's by the same artist from last week, Blu Eyes. I've linked the song in the show notes, so you can again feel free to pause me now and go listen to it, or head there right after we finish chatting through it here together. So this song opens up with the lines, quote, "You'd never know I was fighting for my life 8 months ago. I shut the door and covered the windows because the sunlight hurt my eyes. I couldn't even go outside for so long." End quote. And I'm pausing here because she is describing, in my opinion, with incredible precision, what that red zone, that shutdown state of depression can look like. So for those of you who've been around this podcast for a while, you know that I talk about the three primary states of our nervous system a lot. There's the green zone of regulation, the yellow zone of activation, that's your sympathetic nervous system state, fight or flight, anxiety. And then there is the red shutdown state. Sometimes this is called your dorsal vagal state. It is the oldest, deepest survival response that we have. It is the immobilization, the disconnection, the depression. This is where our nervous system essentially says, hey, the threat is too big. It's lasted too long. Our resources are too low. We need to shut down. We need to conserve energy by immobilizing and pulling the plug. So what does that look like from the outside looking in? It's exactly what she's describing. Closing the door, covering the windows. The world feels like too much. Even sunlight, right? This basic life-giving natural thing becomes painful, not because something is wrong with her brain, but because her nervous system has dropped into a state of such deep self-protection that even the simplest inputs feel overwhelming. Then she sings, quote, "And you couldn't tell, but the inside of my head was a living hell," end quote. This is one of the most isolating things about depression. It doesn't always look like what people would expect. There is no sling or cast. There's no visible wound from the outside. Someone in a state of depression, in shutdown, might look fine. Maybe they just seem a little tired. They might look like they are being a little antisocial or flaky or not trying very hard. But on the inside is a living nightmare. And she tried to explain it in the next line that goes, quote, "I tried my best explaining how it felt, but nobody ever understood," end quote. And I've shared this story before, but this line puts me right back to sitting at a table at the airport across from my mom. We had been on a family trip. And I just looked at her and I said, I know that I am so miserable to be around right now. I also want you to know that this is the best I have to offer right now. And something like this is something that I have heard from so many of you. The exhaustion of trying to put language to an experience that doesn't have easy language. How do you explain to somebody that your body feels like it's filled with cement? That you're not sad exactly. You're almost more of like nothing. That you want to want things, but you somehow cannot access the wanting. Depression can be this felt experience of absence, like numbness, like the lights are going dim. You're sitting at the bottom of a dark box And that's incredibly hard to articulate to somebody who's never been there. And then up next comes the line that honestly is what made me want to build an entire episode around this particular song. And it is, quote, "Doctor said that everything looks good, so I blamed myself," end quote. I need us to sit with this one because this is happening every single day to people everywhere. Someone is suffering. They are drowning inside their own body. They go to a professional and they're told, sorry, your labs are normal, your scans are fine, everything looks good. And the unspoken message that they receive is, so the problem must be me. I'm just somehow broken in an unmeasurable, unscannable way. So what do? We blame ourselves. We internalize it. We go from, oh, hey doc, something's wrong, to, oh no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. And that is one of the most damaging things that can happen to somebody's healing journey. Because here's what we know. Standard medical screenings are not designed to assess for nervous system dysregulation. They're not measuring your vagal tone. These assessments are often not looking at your window of tolerance. They're not assessing whether your body is stuck in a chronic state of shutdown. They're not testing your neurochemistry or asking you questions about your past lived experiences or your current life circumstances. Honestly, most doctors are not even running comprehensive enough labs. You're barely getting the basics, and normal lab results are not optimal lab results. They're based on a very wide, very generic range. So tell me, before you were told that your depression was a chemical imbalance in your brain and offered meds, I want to know, did they test your hormones, your thyroid, your gut, your mineral levels? If so, that's amazing. And you are the exception of care, at least here in the United States. First off, the chemical imbalance theory was debunked over a decade ago. I have many episodes talking about that. And this leads to something very personal in why I do and how I do what I do as a mental health practitioner now. A few years ago, we had five of our clients go to their primary doctor and say, hey, I'd love to put in a request for more comprehensive testing. I even sent a couple of them armed with peer-reviewed literature that shows this particular thing is linked to symptoms I'm experiencing. Symptoms we're labeling as anxiety or depression. Can I get that test? And 5 of our clients, within less than a year, were told no by their doctors. No, we don't need to run that test. Oh no, that's not going to tell us anything that we don't already know. It's just the chemical imbalance in your brain. So I spent the next 2 years figuring out how we as a practice could offer that additional testing for them. I worked with a provider. We've created a customized, very comprehensive blood work panel. We now also offer gut health testing, HTMA, hormone testing through a business that I launched last year called Regulated Health. So this is the virtual functional medicine practice, specifically offering functional labs for mental health that pairs with Regulated Living, which is our mental health coaching practice. And the labs that we have run for clients in just the past year have uncovered so many root causes for our clients' symptoms. I'm going to leave a link so you can go to regulatedhealth.com and learn more about what we offer there if you're curious, because there is no amount of talking about your childhood, talk therapy, taking medication that is going to get to the root of symptoms that are caused or made worse by a hormone imbalance or an unknown thyroid thing, mineral deficiencies. And this is not to knock therapy or meds. There's a time and a place, and those are invaluable resources for care. But when a doctor says everything looks good, but they haven't tested these things that we know can contribute to and even create anxiety or depression, gut health, minerals, comprehensive blood work. So when they say everything looks good, first of all, what they often mean is, hey, everything that we can easily look for is normal. It's within the general range. And that's not the same thing. Normal isn't optimal. In range doesn't mean what it should be for you. So often you need somebody who is willing to look deeper, who is willing to take the pieces of your personal health history, trauma history, current stressors, symptoms, and comprehensive lab work and put it together to look deeper. So this is exactly why we need a more complete framework for understanding and supporting people with mental health. One that includes the nervous system, that accounts for the body, habits, lifestyle, trauma, labs, relationships, and not just one that makes these blanket diagnoses without getting to the root of symptoms, or that tells you everything looks fine when you clearly don't feel fine. When you are depleted and worn down, shutdown makes sense. Mental health is physical health. Our physiology drives our psychology. Okay, let's get back to the song. So then, after blaming herself, she says, quote, "I don't think I've ever been so lonely. Didn't know if I would make it out," end quote. And I think the order that these lyrics are coming in really matters here. She went to a doctor. She was told everything looks fine. She turns that into okay, so I'm broken. I'm the problem. And then came the deepest loneliness she's ever felt. Because of course it did. Think about what just happened in that sequence. She was suffering. She asked for help. The help didn't see her, didn't meet her in the darkness. And now she's back in it alone. Except this time she's also carrying the belief that it might also be all her fault. That is a devastating place to be. And I think it's a place that more people have been than we ever talk about. And the loneliness piece here is so critical. Because remember what we've talked about on this podcast. Connection is one of the foundational needs of our nervous system. We are wired for co-regulation. Our systems are literally designed to borrow safety from one another's systems. So what happens when you are in the deepest shutdown of your life? You have been told nothing is wrong. You've now internalized that as self-blame, and you're isolating. You have lost access to the very thing your nervous system needs most to find its way back. And this is the cruel loop of depression. The state itself removes your ability to access the things that would help you get out of the state. Shutdown makes you withdraw. Withdrawal removes the connection, and the absence of connection deepens the shutdown. And round it goes. And this phrase, quote, "I didn't know if I would make it out." What she is naming here is something that a lot of people have felt, but are often afraid to say out loud. That moment where the shutdown is so complete, so consuming, so heavy, so dark that you cannot see the other side of it. And when you are in that place, it makes sense that you wouldn't be able to see your way through. That sense of acceptance of the darkness as a permanent state is almost comforting. And it is something that I remember feeling all too well. And then she sings, quote, "The dead of winter of my life in the middle of summertime, and it still haunts me now," end quote. That line is poetry, but it is also physiology. And I want to repeat it. The dead of winter of my life in the middle of summertime, and it still haunts me now. When your nervous system is in a shutdown state, it does not matter what season it is outside. It doesn't matter if the sun is shining and the birds are singing and everyone around you is living their summer. Inside you, it is winter. Everything is frozen. Everything is still. The world is moving at full speed and your system is stuck in a state of hibernation. And this disconnect between what is often happening around you and what is happening inside of you is part of what makes depression so disorienting. You can see that life is going on. You can see that other people are functioning, and you cannot understand why you can't just do that, why you can't just get up, why you can't just feel better. And I need you to know that it is not a choice, this nervous system state. It is about survival, and you cannot think your way out of this deep physiological survival response. And then in the second verse, she says, quote, "But you'd never know that it took me months to step outside alone, because my body still gets tense when I walk home, past the spot where it all went dark. It's like a movie flashing back in parts. That cuts deep and slow." This is the body keeping the score, or the body holding the story. She is describing how even after the worst of her depression has passed, her body holds the memory. Her nervous system mapped that location, that experience as danger. And now every time she walks past it, her body responds. Tension, activation, flashback. Not because she's choosing to think about this thing, but because her nervous system is doing what nervous systems do. It is scanning for threat based on our past experience. And this is why talk therapy alone sometimes isn't enough. You can cognitively understand that you're safe now. You can know logically that the worst is behind you. But if your body hasn't gotten that message, if your nervous system is still carrying the imprint of that experience, if your internal stressors outweigh your internal resources and supporters, your body will keep responding as if that threat is still present. Healing has to include our body, period. And then comes the bridge of this song, the part that honestly broke my heart a little bit. She sings, "Everyone said, you look fine from the outside. But in my mind, I was upside down and screaming, what the hell is wrong with me?" End quote. This question, what is wrong with me? How many of you have asked yourself that question? How many of you are in a season where you're asking yourself that question now? I have asked myself this question more times than I can count in different seasons of my life. And I want to offer you a different question. Not what's wrong with me, but maybe instead, what happened to me? Or even better, what state is my nervous system in right now? What does it need most right now? Because when we ask, what's wrong with me? We make ourselves the problem. We pathologize our own experience. We take a very normal, very human survival response, and we turn it into evidence that we're broken. I believe wholeheartedly that your depression makes sense based on your past lived experiences and your current life circumstances. And I have seen hundreds of our clients come to that same conclusion for themselves when they are able to understand their symptoms through a nervous system lens, when they are held compassionately to say, hey, let's take a few steps back. Let's acknowledge and give space to your past lived experiences and the ways of survival that it taught you and the stress load you're still carrying as a result of that. Let's look at your current life circumstances. What's the quality of your relationships, your habits, your environments, your thoughts? Okay. What is the balance between the stressors and the supporters in your life? And there is this moment that happens for every single one of our clients where they go, oh, I get it. I see it. My symptoms make sense. Maybe I'm not the problem. You are not broken. I don't believe you to be broken. I believe your nervous system has moved into a protective state because at some point it needed to, and maybe right now it needs to. And now the work isn't to fix what is wrong with you. The work is to help your system find its way back to safety, to support, to resourcing. Gently, patiently, one small way at a time. And then comes the last few lines of the song, and it doesn't end where you might expect it to. She does not wrap this up with a nice bow. Instead, she sings, quote, "Trying to make it make sense, making my head spin. Now I pray to forget, 'cause I am still here screaming, what the hell is wrong with me? But you'd never know," end quote. That word, still, is important because right now, she's no longer talking about the past anymore. She is telling us this is present tense. The worst of it may have lifted. She can go outside now. She's more functioning. She's writing music, but the echo of this depression, this darkness, this heaviness is still there. She's still trying to make sense of what happened to her. She is still spinning, still asking the questions about that familiar darkness. And I think this is one of the most honest things about this entire song, because we don't talk about this part enough. We love the "I was in a really dark place and now I'm healed" narrative. But that's not how the nervous system works. Healing is not this straight line from dark to light, from hard to easy, from dysregulated to regulated. You can be months or even years out from the worst of it and still carry some of that in your body, or revisit that state from time to time, but maybe it doesn't get as deep or as dark, or maybe it doesn't last as long anymore. You can still get triggered by a place, a smell, or a season into something you thought you were over. You thought you'd processed it. You thought you'd worked through this. You can still have moments where that old question creeps back in. What's wrong with? And then she delivers that final gut punch where she says, "But you'd never know. You'd never know. You'd never know that she's still in it. You'd never know that it's come back for an hour or a day or a week or a month. You'd never know. She looks fine. She's out in the world. She's making music. But on the inside, there are still those parts of her that are screaming." And that gap between how somebody looks and how somebody feels, that is what makes depression so dangerous and so isolating. Because oftentimes the people around you take your functioning as evidence that you are okay. And you stop correcting them. Because the last time you tried to explain to them what you were experiencing, they didn't get it. The last time you went to a doctor for help, they told you everything looked good. Or they told you that you didn't seem depressed, so you must not be. Or how could you be depressed with life so good? Or you answered the questionnaire questions just right enough that they offered you the meds, but not the context, the support, the deeper look into your why. So if you are a person who looks fine, but is still struggling on the inside, I want you to know that I see you. I want you to know that I have been you. And if you are somebody who loves someone who says they're fine, check on them anyways. Do not always take "I'm good" at face value, because sometimes the people who look the most okay are the ones fighting the hardest. And if you have someone in your life who is struggling or has struggled with depression, you don't need to make it your job to fix them either. Please don't. If you're able to sense that they are in a low, or maybe they share with you that they're in a low, sometimes just saying, "Hey, I'm showing up in my fuzzy socks to watch trash TV with you. Hey, I'm bringing that soup you like over. I can hang for 5 minutes. I can hang for an hour. No pressure. You don't want to eat it now? It'll be in your fridge." Sometimes just sitting with them in their not okay for a while is the best thing we can do. That's co-regulation. That's you being a regulated anchor, you being good with you so that you can just sit and be. You don't need to be the savior here. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to have the answers. You can just be there as a sense of safety and support, and their nervous system will feel that. And if this song resonated with you, if these lyrics or this conversation is something you saw yourself in, if you have made it to this point, you hit play, you are here, the darkness has not swallowed you whole yet. You are here. This matters. There is hope. I see you in this hard place. You are not alone. And there are better days ahead. All right, friend. The song is linked in the show notes. I highly recommend go take a listen. Thank you for being here, for continuing to show up in the hard spaces, in the hard conversations, when maybe you don't actually hope, you just kind of hope you can find hope. There is a courage to you that I know and that I see. And until next week, I am sending so much hope and healing your way. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Regulate and Rewire podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review to help us get these powerful tools out to even more people who need them. And if you yourself are looking for more personalized support in applying what you've learned today, consider joining me inside Rise, my monthly mental health membership and nervous system healing space, or apply for our one-on-one anxiety and depression coaching program, Restore. I've shared a link for more information to both in the show notes. Again, thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.